So today, I'd like to share 3 stories with you. That's all right. You got to use your imagination, okay? For the first story, I want you to imagine being a 12-year-old girl, okay? You're walking home from school one day, and you just had a great day of school. You learned math and English and history, all the things that really light you up. And you're thinking about what you're going to do when you get home. You're going to get a quick sandwich, you're going to do your homework, you got a recital that night, Little League practice, and talk to your brother, your sister, your friends. You can't wait. You're just fired up. You're 12. Then all of a sudden, a car pulls up beside you. And it happens to be your teacher, the one who just taught you all those amazing lessons just hours earlier. And she looks you in the eye, and she says, "You can't go home today." And what do you mean I can't go home? I go home every day. This is what I do. And you can't go home today. And when she says it to you, something in the pit of your stomach just drops, and you know that this is real. And she looks at you and she says, "Your whole family was just axed to death." I know. Your whole family was just murdered. So 12 years old, you're on your own, you're on the run. You go from farmhouse to farmhouse, town to town, village to village, just trying to survive. You go through winter after winter, just trying to find your next meal, see and pray if you'll see sunlight of the very next day. One day you're frustrated. It's been cold, you've almost had frostbite, spring is about to break, and you need to see some people. So you sneak into town, and you find this little village, much like this. You see a group of people, and you squint at the very front of it, and you notice the man up front. You squint a little further. Oh my God, that's my uncle. And you're about to scream out and yell his name, and boom! You watch him get executed right before your eyes. And at that very moment, you're caught up in this space between. This space between commitment and hesitation. This space between life and death. Literally, you want to either fall underneath the ground that you're standing upon or scream to the sky. You don't know what to do. But you think about your teacher. And you think about your parents. And the one principle they taught you, they said, love for yourself, love for others, love for humanity, love overall will win. Now I'd like you to imagine being a 23-year-old boy, young man, playing your favorite sport, representing your country, the greatest honor that an athlete, that a jock can do. You're fired up. You finish a match, and you're on your way home, the rest of your teammates, and all of a sudden you get surrounded by people that you don't know. They've got a look in their eye that doesn't seem very positive. And they rally you, along with 300 other people, to trains and buses, carts, and you start to go off to these places that you've never seen before. And for the next 2 years, you go from area to area, place to place, watching yourself whittle down 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 40 pounds. Not sure if you're going to see the light of day, watching your friends drop, drop, and drop. And then one day you get led out to those same vans and buses and train carts. You get led into this wooded area, and you're given one of these. Given a shovel. And you're said, "Okay, start digging. Dig a big hole. And then I'm going to execute you in it." And at that moment, again, just like that 12-year-old girl, you're caught up in this space between life and literal death, commitment and hesitation. Do you tap into those elements of an athlete, of competitiveness, resiliency? Do I take off? Do I compete? Do I run? Or do I stay here and live this life that somebody else is trying to write for me? You know what you do. You're a jock. You're gone. You run, and you run, and you race, and then bam! Bam, 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 bam. Bam, bam, bam. 8 times you get shot in your left shoulder, and down you go. And you play dead for a day. And then another day. And you think you might be. And then a woman comes and saves you. She tries to nourish you back to health. But she can't keep you for more than a day because her safety's at risk. So you get back into that same very woods. And you start to run, climb. You weaken, you start to crawl. Just hanging on to every bit of life that you can. For some reason, your friends find you. they nourish you back to health, and you join a movement. And you join a movement that hides out during the day and saves people at night. And it's amazing, it's exciting, it's everything that you want. And in this 2-year period, you also meet a woman, and she is a dime. I mean, I'm talking ridiculous. Her name's Regina. And Regina is off the chart. She's got that smile, you know, that smile that, guys, there's not a lot of us here, but the guys just stare at. We know it's uncomfortable. We can't stop staring. It's just that beautiful. And you fall in love. You get married. And you have a baby boy. You name him Abram. Cute little dude. You're married for about 2 years. And eventually, you get tasked with heading out into this woods again. You go out into the woods and you see another 300 young men using that same shovel, digging that same grave. And you lead an attack to save all 300 of them. You save your brother and your cousin. The world would have it, the universe would have it that way, of course. And on your way back to your town, this tiny little town, you can't wait to go see your wife and your little baby boy. And then a rumor gets spread. A rumor gets spread that a Polish boy is kidnapped by a Jewish family. A rumor that years later is proved to be untrue. You race back because you're just unsure of what's going to possibly happen to your family. And this town goes absolutely postal. They kill 42 people, most of them beaten to death. And in that moment, your wife, Regina, and your baby boy, Abram, of course, just like that 12-year-old girl, and just like you did before you were digging your own grave, they were in that space between. What do I do? Do I commit? Do I hesitate? Do I run? Do I stay? What do you think she does? Well, the mother's in here. No. She's gone. She takes off, and then one shot rings out, and another shot rings out. And the 2 people that were shot to death that day happen to be your wife and your 3-week-old son. And it just so happens to be July 4th, 1945, your 27th birthday. You're caught in this space between life and death, commitment and hesitation, and you think back to what your coaches taught you, your parents taught you, and your wife taught you. That love for yourself, love for others, love fundamentally will win. So, why do I tell you those stories? Well, this is the woman, the little 12-year-old girl. And this is that 23-year-old man. And then that is them years later, and that's me in their arms. Those are my 2 grandparents, and I grew up around those stories as a child, and it was amazing. I was your age. I'd be sitting at the dinner table just asking them time and time again, tell me more, tell me more. You were shot 8 times. Like, what was that like? Oh my God, you kept back and you kept coming back time and time again when I thought life was over for you. They taught me about resiliency and competitiveness and empathy, all words that I'm lucky I can spell right now. I had no idea what they meant, but somewhere they were getting embedded in me. And every night before I'd leave, they'd grab me by my little cheeks. We hate when they do that, right? And they'd say, Yogi, no matter what, life is nothing without love. Love for yourself, love for others, love for humanity. Love will win. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I turned 14 and I fell in love. Thanks for the warning. And it was awesome. I mean, off the charts. She was amazing. Amazing. And I didn't really know what it was at the time. You don't really know what it is, right? You're just kind of feeling it out. But it was so cool. At night, it was the last phone call I'd make, and it literally felt as though she was in my arms every morning. We'd go to school, and we'd be around each other all the time. And as we got older in high school, it felt like people were talking about us behind our back. Like, oh, there they go again. On the weekends, we'd go out and it felt as though 10 people would watch us, hundreds. It felt like thousands sometimes around us. The pressure was immense. Of course, we went to college together because that's what we did. We were getting married. We were never, ever going to depart from one another. We were dialed in. And in college, there's a new set of rules. I mean, you can sleep in the same bed together. You can wake up in each other's arms. Now, you want to go for a run at 3 in the morning, 6 in the morning, you want to do whatever you want, you can. And then all of a sudden, senior year came, and she sits me down. And she says, Yogi, we need to talk. Now, we all know what that means. Thanks, ladies. She sits me down, she goes, we need to talk. And I knew. She says, it's not you, it's me, right? I love you, but I'm just not in love with you. You're my best friend, And I want you to maintain being my best friend. I don't want any of that. But I thought it would still work out. And then out of nowhere on Christmas in 2003, late in the afternoon, she left. Never again to be the love of my life like that. And the crazy part about all that is that that love of my life wasn't even a human. It was a football. I mean, I put a helmet on, a jersey on, I was a different guy. We literally slept together every single night. In college, we were always connected. No matter if she broke my heart after a big game, it didn't matter. She was my one true love. And then she bailed me. And that happens to athletes all the time. And it's really hard to deal with. And unless we have good mentors, we're kind of out of luck. Unless we know how to handle adversity, and when everything is taken away from us, we don't have a chance. If you look at athletics, the numbers speak for themselves. About 2% of high school athletes play Division I football. I was part of that 2%. About 1% of them get a shot in the National Football League. I wasn't one of those 1%. But now, my relationship with that football has totally changed. I talk about football all the time for the Pac-12 networks and ESPN. That's my job. This is what I do, what I've dedicated my life to do. But I'm also part of a group. It's called the Elite 11. The Elite 11 is essentially American Idol for high school quarterbacks. We go all across America looking for the best QBs in the world. And it's gone on for 15 years. And if you don't know these faces, I guarantee your husbands or your boyfriends do. From Andrew Luck, Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Johnny Football. Everyone that has ever been a quarterback name has gone through this process. And my job as the host of that show and a coach on that staff is to make sure that we coach beyond the X's and O's. We don't talk about owning the locker room, owning your playbook. We talk about sharing in the experience. We don't talk about just respecting the game, but we talk about respecting your girlfriend, respecting your class. And if we can do that, we can influence them. So I'd like you to take a look at a simple way that we do that. So we've been all over the country, as you know. And we've seen quarterbacks from all 50 states, even from Canada. Over 1,000 QBs have been evaluated by this staff. And you've been selected. The top 25 quarterbacks in the entire country.
In an age of touchscreen technology, players simulate the immediate decisions that must be made on the field.
I pushed myself to limits I didn't know I could push to in that run.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. We go.
It was a 4-hour just grind.
It was hard. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Not about you. There's no adoring fans here. Nobody cares. No cheerleaders. It's just us. You guys want to learn how to be a team? It starts now.
What we're really trying to do is build your soul. Because at some point in your life, you're going to be broken. And I want, when that time happens, that you affect people for better.
It's fun to watch the ones just trying to survive. But it's really a blast to watch the ones that are at the top and say, yeah, let's go ball. And that, to us as a staff, is a part of finding out who truly has an inner sense of confidence to go do their thing.
That night I went home to my room and I sat in there to think about it. It kind of made me realize what Trent and everybody are trying to do for us here. This camp is more about making us men instead of football players.
I present to you Elite 11.
So we get the best of the best. And what we try to train them in is not just become the next captain, the next leader, the next #1 draft pick, but become that next generation of learners for the next generation of leaders. We try to teach them that the way you do small things is the way you do all things. And the whole point of tying the Holocaust to football is not because they make sense, because they clearly don't, but it's to understand that mentorship and leadership affects all of us in such unique ways. Look, the facts are a ball changed my life. Sports have influenced me into the human that I am today, and that's probably never going to alter. But the resiliency, the competitiveness, the empathy, was because of my grandparents, because I looked at them every single day, at every holiday meal, and said, teach me, let me understand what you're about. And while I rarely ever said that specific sentence, by being curious and asking those questions, it became embedded in me. And my brave stars here moment was when I realized that football, it didn't define what I was. But what got put into that football and into that experience is who I hope to be. And when I look at all of us now, I hope that we understand and make a commitment to recognizing our role as mentors, our role as leaders. Because our influence, while it may not be felt right now, you'll feel it as you get older and as you grow and as you find conflict and find resolution. One of my greatest mentors is here, Kevin Carroll, who lit it up earlier today. And without people like that and people like my grandparents teaching us about principles that can carry us beyond the field into real life scenarios, I think that we'd struggle. So I hope they recognize the power that we all have in our voice and grab onto the element that we want all of us to be living our authentic story. And I thank you for allowing me to share those, because I've never told those 3 stories before. So thank you.